What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of BreBre Talks MMA. Zhang Li, her ground and pound was what really impressed me. Like, obviously she looked great on the feet. Her wrestling is incredible. Her transitions were just beautiful. Her sprawls, like it was amazing. Her grappling is so good. It's the freaking Sugar Show, guys. It is the Sugar Show. I called it. And everybody told me I was crazy. Yeah, like I even said in the last episode, I'm like, dude, I totally understand why everybody is picking Aljamain. On paper, it makes sense. Like, that is the most logical choice you could have made, picking the main event. But I've been a fan of Sean O'Malley for a long time. And I watch his podcast. And I'm just a big fan. I really like him. And I also know that he's probably one of the best strikers the UFC's ever seen. And I just had a feeling that he was going to win. I was like, you know what? Aljamain, he's been champ for a while now. He's 34. He's probably still in his prime, but kind of like towards the end of his prime. And I'm like, Sean O'Malley, he's still relatively young. He's had his eye on that belt since he started. Like, he knew, like, eventually he was going to be champ. And I just figured, like, now is the time, because if he would have lost this fight, I don't know that he would have gotten another title shot soon enough, And so, yeah, I had a feeling he was going to win. I just felt like it's time for the Sugar Sean era of bantamweight. Like, that's just what I thought. And it happened. He did it, guys. He did it. Sean O'Malley not only beat Aljamain Sterling, but finished Aljamain Sterling in the second round. Guys, roll the clip of me saying Sean O'Malley was gonna win. Let's roll it. Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley is the main event. Aljamain is decent-sized favorite in that one. I do think I'm going to have to go with Sugar Sean. I really don't have any logic to defend my decision there. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I think it's time for Sugar to take the belt. I think he's, been manifesting this for a long time. I think that, I don't know why. I just think he's going to win. Guys, I predict these things, okay? I predict these things. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody who lost money betting on Aljamain Sterling. Maybe next time listen to me. I don't know. The only fight I got wrong was Neil Magny. That was the only one I got wrong, and he still survived 3 rounds. I mean, his leg was pretty much done, but he survived. But yeah, that was the only one I got wrong, so whatever. Just saying, my predictions are getting better, guys. I'm getting better at this. I'm learning, okay? I've been really working on it. I've been really trying to do more research and kind of and I'm just getting better at predicting fights in general. Just the more I watch and the more that I make these, episodes. So anyways, I do want to kind of go through the whole card, and then I want to talk about PFL too, because we had a bunch of finishes in PFL, and yeah, it's going crazy right now. We got the last playoffs card on Wednesday for PFL, so very soon. And then I also want to throw in a clip from my interview with Joe Penafil. He's fighting on the bare knuckle card. So Junior Dos Santos and Fabricio Verdum are fighting on the main event for Game Bred Bare Knuckle MMA in Jacksonville, Florida. So I do want to touch on that later. But first, let's go through UFC 292 because, oh my God, it was a great card. It didn't start off the way I thought it would. Like the prelims, there was a great prelims fight of the night, Brad Katona versus Cody Gibson. Chris Weidman's return, which unfortunately looked like he injured his leg again. Gosh, poor guy. Really can't catch a break. Yeah, so let's go through it. Let's start with just the first fight. Karine Silva, she ended up submitting Marina Moroz in the first round. I wasn't super surprised by that. I mean, I thought it was going to be a closer fight, but not mad at a first-round submission. And that's a flyweight fight, so 2 flyweight fights to open up the prelims. And then the second one was Natalia Silva versus Andrea Lee. Natalia Silva put on a freaking clinic on Andrea Lee. a clinic. It was a masterclass, honestly. I mean, she's got incredible Muay Thai. She really does. And early in the fight, she wobbled Andrea Lee. And I kind of had a feeling like I knew this matchup was going to be tough for Andrea Lee. And I like Andrea Lee, but I just had a feeling like this is going to be a tough fight for her. And it was. And I mean, Andrea Lee was bleeding already in the first round out of her nose. It looked like Silva was just landing that jab like really, really well. And then as the fight went on, I was hoping that Andrea Lee would kind of try to get in the pocket a little bit and like maybe fight a little dirty, press forward, be aggressive, because that was really the only way she was going to have a chance, because she was in Natalia Silva's kicking range pretty much the whole time. So she was just getting pieced up on the feet and ended up getting a unanimous decision. She won every single round, in my opinion. It was pretty dominant performance by Natalia Silva. So I'm really excited to see what's next for her. And there's been a lot of really good prospects at women's flyweight lately. And then we got Rose Namajunas moving to flyweight. I mentioned that in the last episode. I mean, flyweight is just really exciting now for women's MMA. So that is going to be fun. And then after that fight was Andre Petroski versus Gerald Meerschaert. So I've mentioned this fight a couple times. I was excited for this fight because I thought maybe this would be a good, the winner of this fight would be a good opponent for Bo Nickel. My thoughts on that have changed slightly, I think. And I don't know. Here's the thing. I kind of didn't really think about this too much, but both of them are grapplers. So Andre Petroski is a wrestler. Gerald Meerschaert, he's more of a submission specialist. So he's the type of guy that could, get a nice little submission off his back, and he's pretty slick with his jiu-jitsu, I will say that. Andre Petroski, obviously more of a wrestling style. So still, he has submissions, but not anywhere near the level of GM3, I don't think. So he was a little hesitant to go to the ground with GM3. And I kind of expected like at least the first round or two to kind of be more stand up than grappling. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Andre Petroski still has a ways to go with his stand up, honestly. Looked like he was kind of over swinging a lot, and it just wasn't the best. I mean, it's kind of what you expect with two grapplers when they're striking. It's like, this isn't their wheelhouse, but they're so good on the ground. So it's like normally they don't need to use their striking, but in this case, they did. I thought Petroski won rounds 1 and 2. I didn't think that it was a very outstanding performance, but I thought he did enough to win the fight. I would have liked to see more ground and pound, because his ground and pound was actually really good. It was just his striking, like the stand up was just where he was kind of struggling. But it didn't really matter because Gerald Meerschaert wasn't really like beating him on the feet. So in this situation, I was like, okay, well, looks like they're pretty close as far as the stand up goes. But I did notice that Petroski did have really good ground and pound. He just didn't really get to use it that much. So I don't know. It was kind of it was a weird fight. But round 3, Gerald Meerschaert had a very strong round. It was a great round. He controlled Petroski, and if they would have scored this as just a whole fight, I think Meerschaert would have won. But scoring it by each round, that's what kind of made me swing it towards Petroski. But if you ask me who won the fight, if there were no rounds, Meerschaert won the fight. He ended that third round very strong. And it makes you wonder, like, what would have happened if they would have, had another round? I don't know. I think Meerschaert would have been able to possibly finish him. I don't know. I mean, he had a really good third round. But, and actually, it seems like Gerald did more in the third round than Petroski did the entire fight. So, I don't know. It was a very good round. But but I still had Petrosky winning, and he won via split decision. So there was one judge that thought Meerschaert won, and I could see, them giving it to Meerschaert. I wasn't going to be surprised if they did, but I thought Petrosky pretty clearly won rounds 1 and 2, in my opinion. But I've only watched it once, so whatever. I might need to go back and watch it again. And then Brad Katona, he defeated Cody Gibson via unanimous decision. So this was an absolutely insane fight. I wasn't sure who they were going to give that to. I really wasn't. I mean, I thought Brad Katona had it, but at the same time, like, Cody Gibson looked really good, especially in the first round and the second round, really. I mean, the first and the second round were pretty close. I thought Katona clearly won the third, but the first and second round were... it was pretty crazy. And it looked like, Katona was kind of having a little bit of trouble with Cody's range because Cody had a pretty big height difference. I mean, he looked huge in there compared to Brad. But Katona was able to sneak in some nice shots and some nice combinations. So I feel like you noticed Cody Gibson's shots a little bit more, but Katona was landing. He was incredibly fast. So there was some swelling on the side of his face. I think it was the left side of his face, and it was pretty bad. So I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if he like broke a bone in there or if it's just like a hematoma or what it was. But yeah, he had some nasty swelling. Katona did. And then Gibson had like some sort of eye injury or something happen. I don't know. But it looked like his eye or maybe his orbital bone or something was hurting. I don't know what happened. But Katona had a really good third round. He did a lot of damage in that third round. And I think that, he looked fantastic. He really did. His striking was incredible. And that was just such a good fight. And the Ultimate Fighter finales are always so good. Because it's like, yeah, they're taking all these fighters and they're getting the top guys from each division to fight each other from these tournaments. So it's pretty much guaranteed a lot of times to be a banger. So that was a great fight. And then after that was the other Ultimate Fighter finale. So Kurt Holloway versus Austin Hubbard. And Kurt Holloway win. He won via a round 2 submission, which it looked like it was a triangle, but before that, he was going for an armbar. So it was an interesting fight. So he dropped Austin Hubbard to get on top, took his back, attempted a rear naked choke. And then at one point, Hubbard reversed him. He attempted the armbar, and then he switched it to a triangle. So it was just a really high-level grappling from Holloway. And I don't know. I mean, Austin Hubbard is a tough guy. Like, I was kind of surprised he beat him. And not that I doubted him or anything like that, but it's like you really never know. And Austin Hubbard's just so good. And like, I don't know. I've seen him fight so many times. It's like, yeah, I wasn't sure how that was going to go. But yeah, he really impressed me with that submission. That was slick. And then Gregory Rodriguez defeated Dennis Tulilin. That was another interesting one. It was a round 1 knockout. In 1 minute and 43 seconds. So pretty freaking early in the fight. And so here's what happened. There was a controversial strike. So it was, I want to say that Dennis was like kind of on the ground and like had his back exposed. And Gregory was on top of him. Or maybe he was on his side. I can't remember exactly how it went down. But Gregory threw a strike, like a hammer fist type thing, and it looked to me like it hit the back of the head. To me. I don't know. I'm not a ref. I'm not in charge of making these decisions, so it's like it doesn't matter what I think, but I do think it's important to look at that, and have a conversation. Is that legal? What happened? I thought it looked illegal. But I don't know. I don't know, like, if there's a certain area of the back of the head, if it's like at the top, I don't know. Because it was like kind of at the top of the back of the head. I don't know. It looked illegal, but I don't know. I don't know what the rules are on that. I don't know how. Yeah. But either way, I think the result would have been similar. Like maybe he would have got the knockout in 2 minutes instead of 1 minute and 43 seconds. Like, I don't think anything was going to change. But it's still, we don't love to see that. Because, if there is an illegal strike a lot of times, like the illegal knee that Petr Yan threw that ended up getting Aljamain the belt originally, his first title fight, whatever you want to call it. When that happened, that was a DQ and the other guy won. So it's like, if there is an illegal strike, like it needs to be known. So I guess the fact that they didn't say anything about it, like I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't hear the refs talking about it, judges talking about it. I don't know. I don't know if the ref looked at it again after the fact. I think they did. So it must have been legal, at least whatever their rule set says. Because otherwise I feel like they would have said something about it. They would have been like, okay, this is going to be a no contest. This is going to be a DQ. Because that was like the second to last strike that he threw. It's not like it was a strike early in the fight. Like it was right at the end, like the finishing sequence. So, I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that kind of plays out. If they take a look at that, if it does turn out to be legal. I guess it is because they didn't say anything about it and they didn't. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a little crazy, but I was impressed with him either way. It was still an impressive performance. I still think the result would have been the same even without the legal strike. But he's a problem at middleweight for sure. And then Brad Tavares ended up defeating Chris Weidman. This is another middleweight fight. And this is the return of Chris Weidman. And here's the thing, like Chris Weidman is such a legend of the sport. I always love watching him fight. But man, he has not had the best run lately. He got his leg pretty much snapped in half throwing a leg kick at Uriah Hall. And Uriah Hall ended up winning the fight because of that. And I think that was the first time that a fight has ever been won without throwing a single strike. Because Uriah Hall didn't throw a single strike in that fight. So that was pretty insane. And unfortunately, Chris Weidman was on the wrong side of that. He did have some good moments in there with Brad Tavares. He showed a lot of toughness, a lot of heart. Because here's the thing. Tavares was eating up his leg. And I get it. Like, that would probably be, a smart game plan against somebody who just injured their leg and is coming back from that injury. And, like, I don't know if people realize, like, how badly an injury like that is going to affect a fighter. Like, that's a career-altering injury. Breaking your leg like that, like we saw, like Connor happened to him. I don't think he's ever going to be the same after that. Chris Weidman, and we've seen it happen to other fighters too, where they have these crazy injuries and they just never come back from it. Or they come back, but they're just not the same. So I don't know. Brad Tavares did just a ton of damage to both of his legs, really. And I think Chris Weidman tore his MCL or ACL or something. I don't think they have an official diagnosis yet, but I'm sure that's probably going to be one of those injuries is going to be the case. So we'll see. It's unfortunate, but also Brad Tavares hurt him multiple times on the feet, stunned him. So it wasn't just the leg kicks that won him the fight. It was also, he did quite a bit of damage. And just he hurt him multiple times. So it was a great performance by Tavares, but I did think that Chris Weidman had some moments there. There were, obviously, his legs were super compromised. So I don't think there was any way he could have won that fight with his legs being like that, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a great performance from Brad. He definitely had a good game plan going into that. And then going to the main card, so Chito Vera. I love Chito. He's great. He defeated Pedro Munoz via decision. It was a unanimous decision. The judges scored it 30-27. I thought that was a little much. I thought it was a close fight, and I scored it 29-28 for Chito. So I don't know what the judges were thinking there. I thought you could have given a round to Pedro for sure. Like, I don't remember which round it was. Maybe it was the second round? I don't know. I can't remember. I'll have to watch it again. But there was a round that Munoz, I thought, clearly won, in my opinion. But Cheeto looked great. Cheeto's jab was so effective in that fight. He was landing the bigger shots. He was landing more accurately. Like, Pedro was throwing more, so I think the visual, it looked like he was landing more. But Cheeto was being a little bit more patient, and he was just landing almost all of his shots. It was really impressive, and his jab was just really doing a lot of damage to Pedro, and that's ultimately why I scored the fight for Cheeto, just because of the damage that he did. Because the first criteria in scoring a fight is damage. So that to me was what won Cheeto the fight. In most of that damage he did with his jab, it just looked incredible. His jab is special. That is a beautiful jab. So I'm excited to see Cheeto potentially fight Sean O'Malley again in the rematch, because remember the last fight Cheeto won, but it was because of an injury. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the rematch. I do think Sean will win that rematch. I think he's improved a lot. I think Cheeto's improved a lot too, but I think Sean O'Malley, just after seeing what he did to Aljamain, it's really hard to imagine Cheeto being able to beat him. So we'll see. I love both of those guys, so I don't know. It's hard to, pick one. But I think I'm going to have to go with Sean. I think I'm going to have to go with Sean in that rematch, but we'll talk about that a little bit later too. After that was Damon Blackshear coming off a win. He pulled off a twister, the third twister in UFC history, a week ago, and he's already back and fighting Mario Batista, who is an absolute monster at bantamweight. And, I was hoping Damon would win this fight only because that would be the first time that anyone has won back-to-back in 7 days like that. So that's why we really wanted to see him win. And I thought, maybe the judges would have scored it for him. Possibly. It was a close fight, but I kind of had a feeling they were going to give it to Mario. I thought he was, in the striking, I felt like he was a lot stronger. But, it was a great fight. I don't know. I think there was a moment that Damon actually almost went for a twister. Like, he was almost in a position to pull off another twister. So it was great. It sucks that he lost, because that would have been really cool if he had a win, 2 wins 7 days apart. That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. Nobody has ever done that in the UFC. So it would have been absolutely crazy. But yeah, unfortunately he lost. But Mario Batista, that's great for him. So we'll see what's next for Mario. I thought he looked great in there. I thought he was really tough. I'm excited to see both of them again. I mean, I'm excited to see Damon again, because it's like, here's the thing. He took that fight on short notice. He just fought a week ago. So it's like, it's hard to even really count that loss against him. And it was a close, I thought Mario won, but it was a close fight, It wasn't, any dominant in any one way. So yeah, I think Blackshear, I think he actually put on a good performance. So I'm excited to see him again and see who he gets matched up with next. Bantamweight is a Shark Tank, so I don't know. But anyways, the next fight was Neil Magny versus Ian Gary. And this was a pretty much one-sided domination from Ian Gary. I thought Neil Magny was going to win, just because, I've seen Neil Magny fight so many times, and I know that he is known as being a little bit of a gatekeeper. I've seen him kind of derail hype trains. So I don't know. He was a pretty big underdog, so I was a little worried. I'm like, okay, he did just fight not too long ago. Maybe he's not fully recovered. And yeah, I don't think he was fully recovered. I think he probably should have taken more time off from his last fight. This was his 40th pro MMA fight, so he's been in there with everybody. He's a freaking legend of the sport, of the division. So I think we should, respect Neil Magny. I thought that Ian Gary was being a little disrespectful to him, considering how much of a vet he is of the sport. I just, was like, oh, okay. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but whatever. I mean, whatever you got to do to get views. It's probably what they're doing. So yeah. And then, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Neil Magny, he was pretty much on one leg for most of the fight. So Ian Gary chopped away at his legs early, very early, wobbled him on his legs. And yeah, Neil Magny looked pretty compromised, even like towards the end of the first round. Second round, third round, his legs were definitely compromised. Ian was just chopping away at them, and he saw that he was hurt because Neil was reacting to every leg kick. Like even the first one reacted very obviously. And I think that was probably what made Ian Gary continue to throw that, because he's like, oh, I'm hurting him. Or maybe Ian Gary just has the nastiest leg kicks I've ever seen, because he was hurting Neil Magny with every single one, even the first one. So I was really impressed with his leg kicks. Just his kickboxing in general is incredible. But yeah, it was a very one-sided, very one-sided fight. Neil Magny did a little bit of work in the clinch. I think that was in the first round. And yeah, had a couple moments in the fight, but ultimately, I mean, he got absolutely slaughtered by Ian Gary. I would have liked to see a finish though from Ian Gary, because it's like Neil Magny was on one leg for like 2 rounds and he still didn't finish him. So I don't know. I mean, I know Neil Magny's not an easy guy to finish, but I don't know. He did go for a finish like at the end of the third round, but I'm like, that would have been great in the second round. I don't know. I just would have liked to see a finish from Ian Gary. That would have been cool, I think. Because that's what I was expecting if he won. And then the co-main event. So Zhang Weili ended up defeating Amanda Lemos via unanimous decision. Now, this was a decision. It went all 5 rounds, only because Lemos is incredibly tough. She's incredibly tough. Zhang Weili, this was absolute destruction from Zhang Weili. This was the biggest striking differential in UFC history. 296 total strikes to 29. So Zhang Weili landed 269 strikes in this fight. Amanda Lemos landed 29. Biggest striking differential in UFC history. That is absolutely insane, guys. That is insane. Like, that's unheard of. And another crazy stat, you ready for this? 83% striking accuracy from Zhang Weili across that fight. All 5 rounds. Like, there were some rounds she was landing with over 90% accuracy, striking accuracy. That's bananas. That we're talking like Alistair Overeem level striking accuracy. But here's the thing. Zhang Weili, her ground and pound was what really impressed me. Like, obviously she looked great on the feet. Her wrestling is incredible. Her transitions were just beautiful. Her sprawls, like it was amazing. Her grappling is so good. And it's only gotten better. I mean, she's in there with Amanda Lemos, who's an incredible grappler. So, yeah, I was so impressed with her grappling. It was absolutely nuts. But yeah, her ground and pound was just incredible. She was so accurate, like landing, from the side, you know, she had her on like knee on belly, like she had her in so many different positions, and she was able to land ground and pound, land elbows, land all kinds of different things from different positions, from side control, from, you know, knee on belly, in the clinch, on the ground when she's in full mount. So it was incredible ground and pound from Zhang Weili. I was really, really impressed with that. And also just her striking accuracy. I scored the fight 50-45. I thought she just won every single round. I guess you could have probably made one of those rounds a 10-8 round. I didn't think Lemos won a single round in that fight. Like, I thought that was pretty clear. I think one of the judges gave her a round. What? Which round did Amanda Lemos win? Like, she didn't win any of those rounds, guys. No. Anyways, I thought that was funny, but I had it, you know, 10-9 every single round, maybe throw in a 10-8 round for Zhang Weili. But I thought 10-9 was fair either way. But yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible. That was like a Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar type performance, but even better. Like, it was even better. That was one of the best female performances I've ever seen. And some people would say, oh, well, she didn't get a finish. That was better than a finish, guys. That was better. I would rather see that than a finish. That was absolutely incredible. Incredible, guys. Okay, thank you. Rant over. Zhang Weili might be the best active female MMA fighter right now. She might be. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But she might be the best active. I say active because Amanda Nunes retired. Yeah. And here's the thing. Valentina Shevchenko used to be, in my opinion, the best active female fighter besides Amanda Nunes. But she just got beat by Alexa Grasso. And Alexa Grasso I wouldn't consider the best. Yeah, so I think I would have to go with Zhang Weili right now for best active female MMA fighter. A close second would be probably Shevchenko. And then in PFL, another great women's fighter is Larissa Pacheco, which I will talk about a little bit later when we talk about PFL. But let's talk about the main event, because this was a huge fight. So it was a huge fight. It was in Boston, UFC 292. The Ultimate Fighter finale fights on here. I mean, I think people were forgetting about that because they did a horrible job marketing that, honestly. And because Conor is like MIA. Was he even at the fights? I didn't even see him. You would think he would have been there. I don't know. I really wonder what is wrong with Conor sometimes. But yeah, like, this was a great card, and I think it was a very underrated card too. Like, I knew Brad Katona versus Cody Gibson was going to be an absolute barn burner. So yeah, I think a lot of people slept on this card, honestly. But yeah, so the main event was huge, though. The main event was the draw. And I know Ian Gary was saying, like, oh, I'm the draw, like, all this stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe in the UK, there are more people that are excited to see Ian Gary. But I think overall, it was the Sugar Show, guys. It was the freaking Sugar Show. I'm telling you, I have been a fan of Sean O'Malley for so long, since he was on Contender Series. I love this guy. This guy is amazing. Like, for the sport, he's so great for the sport, because it's like he promotes himself. He knows how to make money in other ways besides fighting, so he doesn't have to fight every like few months or whatever. He's just really smart. Like, I think he's just a very smart fighter. He does everything that he needs to do to sell his fights, and he's great at talking trash. He's great on the mic. I just think he's really good for the sport. And you know, and I watch his podcast, and I'm just a big fan in general. And I'm a big fan of Aljamain too. But yeah, it's just not often you see somebody with the star potential like Sean O'Malley. And I knew he would get the title eventually. I just didn't know when it was going to be. But when I saw this matchup, I was like, I think it's time, you know, for Sean O'Malley to finally win the belt. This is his first title shot. And I just had a feeling that he was going to win. I mean, like I said in my prediction, I said, you know, he's been manifesting this for a long time. And I really do believe that. I think a lot of it has to do with his self-belief and just how determined he is. And yeah, it really speaks to, his self-belief and his mindset, because a lot of people were betting against him on this fight. I mean, he was a big underdog. Aljamain was the favorite. A lot of MMA media, they were, you know, calling for an Aljamain win here. And really, I mean, people thought I was crazy for picking Sean O'Malley, and I kind of thought I was crazy too, to be honest. I was like, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, Aljamain is a better fighter. Like, I really do think that he's had tougher opponents. He's had more impressive wins. He's got better grappling. He's got insane wrestling. I'm like, yeah, I really think that in theory, Aljamain should win this fight, but I'm like, for some reason, I think that Sean O'Malley is going to win. And he did. So obviously I was right, guys. You should listen to me more. You should listen to me, just saying. But yeah, it was a beautiful counter right hand from Sean O'Malley. He knew that if Aljamain overextended, that his chin would be exposed and he would be able to take full advantage of it, which is exactly what he did. And he set this up so beautifully because in the first round, what he was doing, he was throwing feints. So a lot of people thought Aljamain won the first round, and I actually did too. I thought Aljamain won the first round, not by a mile, but he won. You know, he did a little bit in that round. He did a little bit. He didn't do much, but he did a little bit, enough to win him the round, in my opinion. But the reason why is because Sean O'Malley was being very patient in the first round. He was using that round to set up some feints. He was throwing a ton of feints at Aljamain. He was feinting his jab. He was feinting the right hand. He was switching stances and throwing feints from different stances. He was getting Aljamain to bite on almost all of these feints, guys. And I think that is what really set up the second round. I just had a feeling that he was being more patient than normal because this is Aljamain Sterling and we have 5 rounds. You know, it's not a 3-round fight. This is a 5-round fight. So in his head, he's thinking, okay, let me conserve a little bit of energy. Let me not come out of the gate trying to knock him out right away, which is what a lot of people thought that he should do. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's a good game plan at all. I kind of had a feeling that he would try to throw a lot of those feints in the first round, or at least most of the time when he does it, he kind of does it for like the first minute or two or like the first half of the round, and then he starts to pick up the pace. But he took pretty much this whole first round to kind of figure out Aljamain a little bit and control the octagon. I think that probably got in Aljamain's head too, just like him controlling the octagon, him throwing those feints. Aljamain bit on almost all of them. So yeah, he really did a lot of groundwork in the first round, I thought. And then in the second round, yeah, he capitalized on a mistake that Aljamain made. And Aljamain had kind of veered away from his game plan a little bit, which, I think is what cost him the fight. But yeah, I mean, it was a clear victory for Sean O'Malley. I know some people are claiming it was an early stoppage. I get it. I get why people think it was an early stoppage, but I don't know. I mean, he was really hurting Aljamain on the ground. Like, it was bad. He was throwing some pretty nasty hammer fists. So I don't know. I mean, if you guys wanted to see Aljamain get his head punched into the ground more, that's great, but I didn't really need to see that. I had seen everything I needed to see, okay? So, yeah, okay, early stoppage, whatever. Like it would have changed anything. I really... Here's the thing. If they would have let that go on for like another 10 seconds, then people would have been like, oh, it was a late stoppage. Like, he was getting his head pounded into the canvas by O'Malley. Like, guys, come on. Anyways, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, it was an early stoppage. I'll say that. It was early, but I think it was a good thing that it was early, in my opinion, because I think it would have been really bad if it would have kept going. So, and I get it. It's a title fight. I get it. You want to see him fight to the death. And normally, yeah, I would agree, but no, I don't really want to see Aljamain take a bunch of damage. No. So, yeah. So it's the Sugar Show, guys. It is the Sugar Show era. I'm really excited to see what's next for him. I think that he's really pushing for this Cheeto fight. I think that's probably the most ideal fight for him right now. I think he'll win that fight. Yeah, he might be able to possibly finish Cheeto. I don't know. I think that fight might go to decision, but it is a title fight, so it's 5 rounds, so maybe a late finish for O'Malley. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see that fight again. And Cheeto's good. Like, that's the thing. Cheeto is really good now. He's improved quite a bit, but I think Sean O'Malley's improved more. And yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. But another possible matchup for Sean would be Merab Dvalishvili. I don't think that fight's going to happen just because Merab is such a dominant grappler. And Sean is, he's a striker. Let's just call it what it is. He's not necessarily known for his grappling. He has good grappling, and I think a lot of people sleep on his takedown defense and his grappling. His jiu-jitsu is actually really good. So I think a lot of people sleep on his grappling. And we've never seen him, really. I mean, I guess with Piotr Jan, he got taken down. But other than that, we've never seen anybody really do anything to him on the ground. So, besides, I mean, Aljamain took him down in the first round of that fight at the end. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that Merab is I think Merab is a worse matchup for him than Aljamain. And I've been saying that. Like, I actually thought this was a winnable fight for Sean O'Malley. Like, just looking at their styles and just knowing how much better O'Malley's kickboxing is and his boxing too, like the way he throws feints, just all of that. Looking at that and looking at Aljamain's style, like, I just kind of had a feeling that O'Malley, if there was anybody that was going to do it, it was going to be O'Malley. Just because his striking is so good. So that was kind of my thought process behind that. But Merab, I think, has better wrestling than Aljamain even. I know it sounds crazy, but I really do. I think he has better wrestling than anybody in that division, besides maybe Henry Cejudo. But we just saw Henry Cejudo get taken down by Aljamain Sterling. So that's another interesting fight. And I think that's what I would want to see. I think I want to see Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. And I want to see, and I guess they'll do that in December. And then I want to see Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. I think that is a great matchup. I mean, it would probably be more of a stand-up fight, I would think. But I don't know. I think Merab might be able to, like, kind of manhandle Henry a little bit more on the ground than Aljamain could. I think he's going to be able to do a little bit more to him on the ground. I really do. So it'll be interesting to see, if those fights happen. Also, we'll get to see a little bit more of Merab's stand-up, because I do think that fight will be more stand-up heavy than anything. That matchup between him and Henry Cejudo. And also Henry Cejudo, probably one of the smartest fighters in the game. He's incredibly smart. He's got great fight IQ. So that would be a tough fight for Merab. And the options for that would be, throw that on a big pay-per-view card, throw it as a co-main event maybe. Or you could do that as a fight night main event, I think. I think that's a big enough fight that they could do a fight night main event. Maybe like I don't know where they would do that at. Doesn't really matter that much, I don't think. But yeah, maybe throw that on a fight night main event, or throw it on an undercard of like a big pay-per-view. You could throw it on the Sterling O'Malley card, or not Sterling O'Malley, Chito O'Malley. You could throw it on that card. So I don't know. I think it'd be a fun fight. But anyways, moving on to PFL, because there were some big fights in PFL this weekend on Friday. And there's more fights coming up on Wednesday. So get ready, guys. PFL is taking over. I'm going to go through these real quick. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of like breaking these down, because I really wanted to focus on UFC 292 this weekend. I've been absolutely exhausted. So I kind of, I'm winging it a little bit more than I usually do. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me. I didn't take nearly as many notes as I normally do this time around, but I feel like I paid really close attention to the fights. And I really just like absorbed it and watched it kind of more as a fan than a journalist. Like I just wanted to kind of watch it and enjoy it like I normally do. And like, I took some notes down and I tried to, remember certain things. But other than that, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to chill and watch the fights and enjoy it, because this is a huge card and I love Sean O'Malley. So whatever. But PFL playoffs. So there were some showcase bouts to kick off the card. Myra Mazar ended up defeating Caitlin Neal, who she's, I guess, like a personal trainer, like in fitness influencer or whatever. And she's fighting in PFL. I think this was the 125 pound division. It was either 115 or 125. I can't remember. But Myra Mazar ended up winning via split decision. I thought it could have gone either way. It wasn't an overly eventful fight anyways. But I do think that, it was a good fight. I mean, it was technical. They both, they had some good moments, but yeah, I thought it could have gone either way. And then Danilo Marquez, he had defeated Satoshi Ishii. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that was via a decision. And I thought Danilo Marquez looked really good. I thought he moves really well, considering how big he is. I mean, he's huge. So I was really impressed with them. And then Nate Kelly ended up defeating Damian Nelson via unanimous decision. That was a good fight too. And then moving on to the playoffs. So Marina Makhnatkina ended up defeating Amber Leibrock in the first round via armbar. And Amber Leibrock is no joke. Like she's a really tough opponent, and she just fought Larissa Pacheco, who's arguably the best women's fighter in PFL right now, in my opinion. Yeah, so she just lost to her. You know, she got TKO'd. So for her to come back this quick and then, you know, have to fight Marina, it's like, oh my God. So I kind of expected that. I was hoping for a win from Amber Leibrock just because I do really like her. I think she's really talented. But Marina is incredible. I mean, it was a first round armbar. It was very fast. Yeah, it was a great performance. And then Denis Goltsov defeated Jordan Heiderman. And I've been talking about Goltsov for a little while now. I was so impressed with him in the last fight. And he's just got incredible power. And he ended up getting a first-round submission in this fight. So the last time, I think he got like a 17-second knockout or something crazy like that. And then this one, he got a first-round submission. So he's showing different sides of his game in every fight. You know, he's showing he's not a one-dimensional fighter. He's not a, you know, one-punch knockout artist. You know, he's got submissions too. And Jordan Heiderman's a great wrestler. So he ended up getting an arm triangle. And one other thing that I noticed with Goltsov is that he has an incredible jab. His jab was working so effectively for him. So even if he didn't get that submission, I think he would have ended up, you know, being able to win that fight on the feet. I was really impressed with him. And then Larissa Pacheco defeated Elena Kolesnik via a knockout. And this was a 14-second knockout. I'm not surprised. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Larissa Pacheco is an absolute monster. I'm really excited to see what happens with her and Marina in the championship fight. I think Pacheco is going to win the whole thing. I really do. I've been saying that since the first time I saw her fight. She's very talented, and she's got a win over Kayla Harrison at lightweight, and that was 2 of her losses were to Kayla Harrison via decision, and that was before she ended up avenging those losses. So, and then her other losses are to Germaine Durandamy, and who's a former UFC champion, and then I think the other one was Jessica Andrade. And she's also a former UFC champion. And then there was another one. I can't remember who it was. But she has a win over Irene Aldana. Or actually, maybe she only has 4 losses. Yeah, I think she only has 4 losses. Kayla Harrison twice, Germaine Durandamy, and Jessica Andrade. But she does have a win over Irene Aldana in jungle fights back in Brazil. So... yeah, Larissa Pacheco is scary, guys. She is scary. And that's at 145. So, just saying, I would really like to see her fight Amanda Nunes or Cyborg. That'd be cool too. Renan Ferreira defeated Maurice Greene via a round 1 knockout. Is anybody surprised? Renan Ferreira is huge, first of all. Huge heavyweight. And he just, yeah, he's very talented. Who knows? He might end up getting to fight Francis Ngannou at some point. I think either him or Goltsov is going to end up fighting Francis Ngannou. Whoever wins the championship, I think that might be Francis's opponent in PFL. Honestly, it's like, who else is he going to fight? Yeah, I think that if Goltsov can beat Ferreira, I think he definitely would be able to fight Francis. I think Goltsov is good. Goltsov is really good, and I that's kind of who I'm leaning towards in that fight. I mean, Ferreira is so good too. It's really hard to predict, but I really do think that Goltsov is gonna win that one. I really do. I think he's just got something special. I don't know. They both do. And on Ferreira, I'd really like to see both those guys against Francis, but we'll see how that fight plays out. You know, who wins, Goltsov or Ferreira? I don't know. I'm leaning towards Goltsov right now, but Ferreira really impressed me. He defeated Maurice Greene, who used to be in the UFC. So, yeah, that was a great performance. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This Wednesday, we've got PFL again. This is the last playoffs card, so lightweight and welterweight, I believe. Headliner is Shane Burgos versus Clay Collard. And also Corey Cuppy is fighting on that card. So he's going to be one of the showcase bouts. And I interviewed him about a couple weeks ago on my other podcast, and you can watch the last episode, the clips in there. But yeah, so he's going to be fighting. He is an incredible striker. He has a 100% finish rate. So definitely tune into that one, because if he wins, it's going to be a viral knockout. I promise you. Or submission. We'll see. Probably a knockout, but I don't know. But yeah, he's very, very talented, and I'm really excited to see him get back in there. So this is a middleweight fight. So not a lot of middleweights in PFL right now. I mean, Jake Paul's a middleweight, but there's not a ton. So I'm excited to see what happens, you know, especially if they buy Bellator and all that stuff goes down, you know, what kind of middleweight talent they're going to get in the PFL. But anyways, after that coming up, I want to mention that the Game Bred bare knuckle MMA event is September 8th. So make sure to tune into that one. Joe Penafiel, who I just had on my other podcast for an interview. I'm going to throw that clip in here so you guys can see a little bit of that interview. I'm excited too. I'm excited to watch the whole card. So
I hope you
awesome.
watch it, have a couple beers, get some friends together. Like I said, it's going to be free on YouTube. All you got to do is go on Game Bred FC. They're going to live stream it from the ViStar Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. It's the same arena where the UFC has their events there. So it's a big deal, man. The local hockey team plays there, and Jacksonville is amazing. Jorge Masvidal's second bare knuckle MMA event ever in the state of Florida. So bare knuckle MMA brought to you by Jorge Masvidal and Dean Toole from Island Fights. It's going to be amazing. The stars will be out. Last time we had
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill and Tyler Euro and different NBA players there. It was kind of cool, and Roberto Duran. So I'm expecting the same thing. A lot of fucking NFL dudes and some other, like, you know, MMA superstars. Maybe Kamaru Usman. He was there last time. You know, who knows, you know?
Yeah.
I really feel like we're gonna make a big splash. I hope that main event lives up to the hype, and I believe they will. September 8th, Friday night, catch me, the party live, coming to you from Orlando, Florida. I'm fighting a guy that just moved to Orlando, Florida, so I'm taking the fake out. The garbage will be thrown out, and I will be victorious. And when I'm done, I'm gonna have a beer, and before the fight, not right before, but definitely though after weigh-ins, like the night before, I'm definitely gonna have a beer with my lunch or my dinner. So expect me to be loose. I'm not gonna step back and try to hide from the fight. I'm gonna try to attack the whole time, and I can't wait for everybody to watch. And if you can't get a ticket and be there live, just watch it on YouTube. Make sure you comment, post it, share it as soon as you see it, and talk about it. And I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for just giving me a platform. Like I said, hopefully we put some shine on this card, and we get
Yes,
people talking
definitely.
about it around the water cooler.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll make sure to spread the word too to like other MMA media people and all that kind of stuff, and get their eyeballs on it too, because I think this might be a
Yeah, for
big
sure.
thing. I mean, it's a new, you know, it's kind of a new spin on the sport, and it's not something we've seen much of, like bare knuckle MMA. I mean, bare knuckle boxing is doing really well right now, so like why wouldn't bare knuckle MMA be able to do even better? Because it's like, well, guess what? Not only is it boxing and striking, but we got wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all the other stuff too. Like, so, and having big names like Verdum and Junior Dos Santos, like that's so huge.
Yeah, there's so many guys that want to. I think when they see the opportunity to make some money and maybe like fight at a certain level for their level, you know, these are guys that were former champions, and they've been there and done it. And when you've been there and done it, I know maybe some common people can't understand, like, you know what I mean? But to us and to fighters, once you've made it there, it's like, why would you? Like, there's nothing to prove. Like, they don't really need to necessarily be fighting Francis Ngannou or Cyril Gane or John Jones. Like, you know, this provides enough entertainment and enough motivation for these guys to want to fight each other and provide a violent bloodbath out there with martial arts in the middle of it. You know, it's gonna be, you know, these guys are highly talented. Like you said, Dos Santos has some great boxing skills that he used all the way to get to the title, and I think he captured it twice. I don't know, maybe once. And then Verdum, obviously his amazing run. He tapped out Fedor, and he has some of the best jiu-jitsu of all time. And it's gonna be that's a dope fucking matchup. I can't.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm excited to be a part of it. Definitely gonna take some pictures backstage, like a groupie to add to my wall and to my book La Vida Loca.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be amazing. I'll send you a copy as soon as I'm done with it. You're gonna be one of the first 10 people. Okay.
I can't wait. He is going to be fighting on that undercard, so definitely tune into that. He's a bantamweight fighter. He's really, really talented. I mean, this is bare knuckle MMA, so these guys are dogs that are fighting in this organization, okay? And he's an absolute dog. You should see the last fight he was in bare knuckle. It was absolutely insane. So yeah, great fights coming up. I'm very excited. And the main event of that fight is Fabricio Verdum versus Junior Dos Santos. Two legends of the sport, so you can't really get any more OG of a main event than that. I mean, that is a great main event, so I'm really excited to see who wins that one too. I'm kind of leaning towards Dos Santos, but who knows? Verdum could submit him and, you know, do what he does best. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. But I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you guys for all the support. Make sure to also check out Fight Bananas. I'm hosting their Tuesday night Dana White's Contender Series post show. So tune in, check out Fight Bananas on YouTube and Instagram. I'm going to be doing some more stuff with them too in the future, so I'm really excited. But thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for watching today, and I will see you again next week. Bye.